Hello and welcome back to Boxing Social in association with Betfred. My name is Ayman Khan. We're here in Wembley, Box Park, London. We've just witnessed Richard Riakporhe and Jumah, two cruiserweights, British cruiserweights face off. With me is the one and only cruiserweight royalty, Johnny Nelson. Johnny, how's life treating you?
I'm good, thank you, Boxing Social, for the introduction. I'm looking forward to this fight on Saturday. Of course, every time the cruiserweights are in the mix, I love to try and big that and push that, because cruiserweights have never had the glamour or the attention. It's not very often you manage to get domestic dust-ups at cruiserweight between decent fighters. Saturday night it's a decent dust-up.
Yeah, when it comes to cruiserweights, you're the man to speak to. Richard Riakporhe, you've been casting your eye over him past few fights, been there ringside seeing him. Jumah been a tricky, people say within the trade, we've seen him tricky opponent, southpaw as well. But what do you expect to see when those two step through the ropes?
Well, you know, word on the street, especially when you get here within the London gyms, you know, Jumah's got a bit of a rep. And I'm thinking, have I missed something here? And Riakporhe has taken himself out of London, away from home, family and friends, and based himself in Loughborough. He's done that for the past 2 years, which I respect of any fighter to do. So he's put the work in, he's put the grounding in. This is going to be a good fight. You've got two fighters. One's got more fights, less knockouts in Jumah. Less fights, more knockouts in Riakporhe. They're at that peak, they're at that part in their career where they think, right, I need this fight, I need to win this fight. A loss would hurt Riakporhe more than it would Jumah, because they've got plans for Riakporhe already. He's stepping forward. With Jumah, you know, he's got to sit down with the promoter, get a deal, and re-establish himself and get himself back in the mix again. So this is going to be interesting to see how it turns out. Richard Riakporhe, I'll keep saying, this guy hasn't got the confidence to match his ability. He needs to get those things matching up pretty quick. This is one of those fights that will help him match that confidence up, and it's important he does that.
Speaking of Richard, I saw a little bit of a different side to him yesterday in the press conference, one that was looking to push a few buttons, it seemed, of Jumah's. Did you see that? Did you see that different side to him there?
He needs to. He needs to boss and bully. If you're going to be a world champion, if you're going to attack as world champion, you've got to believe it. You've got to believe you're the best fighter in the world. You've got to manhandle and bully anybody that's coming to Joshua out of that position. So now he's got to talk like a champion, not just walk like a champion and fight like a champion. He's got to think like a champion. So how it was yesterday, all right, now we're seeing it. I don't want no nice guy. I want you to say, this is what I'm going to do. This is what you can't do. This is what I'm capable of doing. Not many fighters that are out there that become champion really believe they're the best in the world. The foreplay starts well before you fight for world title, you know, and now you've got to build up a confidence. And what I saw yesterday with Riakporhe trying to push those buttons to make Jumah think, well, you know what, you know, there's doubt about your confidence, doubts about your hunger, doubts about what you want, how much you want it. I like that. He's got to actually translate that into the fight. When it comes to the fight, he's got to bully him, he's got to push him, he's got to get him complaining to the referee. He needs to do that, because if he lets the southpaw Jumah get into his swing, lets him get comfortable, it could be an absolute nightmare for him.
Do you see that world title potential in Richard? When you look at the top of the division, you see Lawrence Okolie's, Breedis's, Usyk's obviously moved heavyweight, but he's been there too. Do you see that world title potential in Richard?
The potential's there, but again, he's got to have the confidence to match his ability. You know, and you look at Lawrence Okolie, who's to me is probably the best out of the lot of them, that has more confidence than he has ability, and he's a good fighter. So when his ability matches his confidence and he's up there, this guy will be unbeatable. So you've got to get him, you know, while you can. Make sure you're smart about doing it. I think Lawrence is officially the best out of them, but Richard's got to fight for his position, and think, right, I want to get in this mix. I've got to show you, look, I'm capable of doing that too.
Number of different and varied talents on the card as well there. We've seen the Azim brothers glitter, as well as Caroline Dubois in a previous outing as well. Any particular contest take your eye on the undercard?
On the card, so live streaming starts at 5 o'clock. I think the live stream, there's so many good fights from day dot. You know, if you like your boxing, if you love your boxing, start tuning in from 5 o'clock. Young lady called Shannon Ryan, she's with 258 Management. She's making her debut. Keep an eye on her, and I'm gonna. It's a big call, but I'd say watch this young girl. She'll be a world champion. You know what I've seen about her, what I've heard about her, what I've seen how she works. I'm looking forward to seeing her development. Chris Congo, he's on in a live stream. Then you move on and on. You've got Dan Aziz, massive fan of his. Adam Azim, again. You know, this guy is in with a fighter that's had more fights than him. He's in with a fighter that's going to test him a little bit more. It's a good matchmaking, that one. And of course the main fight. Caroline Dubois, of course, before the main fight. She's growing more and more confident each time the camera's on her, each time the spotlight's on her. And then the main fight, as in Riakporhe and Jumah. Again, I'm really excited to see how the whole night falls.
There is a scheduled clash, as happens sometimes in boxing. Over the other side, promotionally, Josh Warrington will be fighting at the same time, or the event will be on at the same time there. How confident are you that Sky can kind of win the viewership battle of the fans, obviously, who will be tuning in?
So if you're a boxing fan, you're gonna want to watch who you're a fan of. Yeah. That's it. It's not about Sky, it's not about DAZN, it's about who you're a fan of. And if Josh Warrington has more fans than Richard Riakporhe, his fans will be watching him. You know, if you're a fan of Richard Riakporhe and not Josh Warrington, you're going to watch him. That's it. You're going to watch who your favourite. It's like watching a football team. BBC and ITV could have two matches on. If you're a Man City fan, you might watch them on BBC. If you're a Man United fan, you might watch them on ITV. It's just a case of who you're a fan of. That simple.
Moving on to a couple of other things, just listened to Ben Shalom yesterday. Ben mentioned that looking likely that KELL Brook will be continuing potentially, and potentially the outing with Fury-Whyte Jr. is in the offing. Just your thoughts on that?
Well, I've made my thoughts quite clear. I think KELL should walk away from the game, walk away on a high, be able to sleep good at night, think, you know what, I've done my job. They're dangling million pound carrots in front of him, so I can understand the temptation. I can understand why he'd probably choose to ignore that. If Ben is in talks to get that done and it's almost done, then I'd be curious to see where the weight's going to be. Is it going to be 160? Is it going to be below 160? Is it going to be above 160? I personally wouldn't do it. But you know, if this is what KELL's doing, this is what Ben's got in line. Great, great for TV, great for the fans. On a personal level, I know KELL. I know what my opinion is on a personal level.
The other side of that being the other side of the equation, Khan Brook, it seems like Amir Khan will be fighting on potentially a tune-up, and then if you want to take the rematch with KELL, that might be there. Your thoughts on that too? Khan continuing with a tune-up and then potentially a rematch with KELL?
I'm not contradict myself. I think this is more for financial gain to invoke the rematch with KELL Brook more than self-belief and self-desire. You know, many things had gone on in training, many things were said in preparation for this. He talks us into believing that, you know, I've got this, I've got his team said we've got this. Terence Crawford flew over, Bo Mack came over, they came over and they failed to produce. I'm kind of dismissing it. I think it's for financial gain more than anything else, and if people are honest, they'll think that the same. So we'll just see how it goes, see how the cards fall.
Moving on to the heavyweights, it looks like we're getting developments in terms of Alexander Usyk's situation. I know there are much bigger things in play here, but it looks like we're pushing towards a Usyk-Joshua2 rematch. Your thoughts on that? Is it the right move? Well, maybe ideally you'd think Joshua would want an interim fight, but it looks like the rematch is happening immediately.
Good, I'm glad the rematch is happening. And I'm glad he's taking it. Usyk's beatable. He chose the wrong tactics. He went in there with the wrong formula. He has a chance to fix that, and he's training for it. I know he's training for it. So it's just a case of when and where. I'll watch it. I'm excited for it.
Johnny, is it just a case of he has to brute force it, or can there be a hybrid of boxing and brute force, or is it literally just a destructive AJ that comes in and gets the victory over Usyk? Is that the way it happens?
He's got to be more than orthodox about his approach to the fight. You've got to push the rules to the limit, you know, and stop trying to do it completely correctly, because if you do that, that's when you get turned over by somebody that's unorthodox. And Joshua has that. He has that within his arsenal. And we saw that. Look at a fight against Joshua against Dylan White. They were both two raw, rough diamonds. Wicked fight. Now you look at the fights of late of Joshua. He's refined himself too much. Where, I get it. Get the knowledge, get the understanding, but you need that rough edge. that rough edge brings out unpredictability and unorthodoxness about what you're doing. So I think he now realises that, and he just has to get ruled. He just has to get nasty, and that's how he's got to fight.
Moving on to another heavyweight, the other side of the coin, Tyson Fury versus Dillian Whyte. A lot of talk about whether being a good move, bad move, with Dillian Whyte silence, not turning up to the press conference. Is the silence the right thing in your view, Johnny?
I don't know what's been going on in regards to negotiations, but if it's a silent process by Dillian Whyte, good on him. I gather he's not had any tickets being allocated to him. I don't know what the financial tilts are going on there, but if it's a silent protest to him, good on him. He's basically, all right, then I'll fight. I'm not going to help you sell the fight. I'll just turn up, fight and lose. What difference does it make? You know, it makes it harder for the promoter to sell the fight. The fight's sold. So he's probably thinking, well, what more do I want to do? I'm not going to stand there for you to insult me and try and belittle me. I'll just turn up to fight you. And as far as Dillian Whyte's concerned, I'm coming up to beat you up. And that's it. If he manages to beat Tyson Fury, the win will look so much better in the way he's dealt with this and get to the fight, if he manages to beat Tyson Fury. But Tyson Fury has proven he's top dog for a reason. So it's for Dillian Whyte to prove to everybody around that, look, I belong here, let me just show you what I can do.
A final thing for me, in the wake of Taylor versus Catchall, Ben was mentioned that he and Adam were working on proposals to put towards the board to better the sport in terms of scoring and judging. That's something that I think, as maybe a former fighter and you seeing bad scoring in the past, potentially you'd welcome.
Without a doubt, I think I'm a massive fan of a British boxing mode of control. Now and again they drop a clanger. I think that was a clanger now. So is it about the training? Is it about what they're looking at? Is it about an explanation from the judges, not from the representatives of the judges, from the judges? So say, for instance, we got Ian John Lewis. And let Ian John Lewis to talk to people like you, talk to people like me. And let Ian John Lewis explain to you and I why he scored round 1 this, round 2 that, round 3 that, round 4 that. And then if he believes in what he's done and what he's judging, then we can understand, let's agree to disagree. But let's remember, I think he scored 10 rounds the same as one judge, 11 rounds the same as another judge. So 3 judges should be penalised if he's been penalised. 3 judges should be downgraded if he gets downgraded. 3 judges should be treated the same. I gather the board have said it's for previous performances, reason for them downgrading and suspending him. If that's the case, why would he put him in such a valuable fight? Why would they do that? Because then that's the fault of the board again, a clanger. So they've got to make their mind up. Why is this man being made a scapegoat? And if it was for previous performances, why would they put him in such an important fight if they knew they were going to downgrade him for fights previously to that? You wouldn't put him in that position if you're thinking, you know what, you're not up to scratch. Because he did nothing in that fight that the other judges didn't do. Regardless if I agree or disagree with the scoring, and I disagree with the scoring, I disagree with how he's been treated in regards to the after the fight.
Super final thing, Johnny, because you brought something into my mind there. Sometimes people advocate for former fighters turning into judges. Do you agree with that? So you can argue that they've obviously been in the position they might be able to judge a fight better because they've been in there, or they carry their own biases throughout their career.
I totally agree with you. You know, when that Catchall fight was on, I was ringside with former fighters, former world champions, former average fighters. The average Joe that was watching the fight, and we weren't stood there nudging each other and encouraging each other or manipulating each other's point of view. We stood there, and after each round, marked it down, and we've got, and we were looking at our cards. Nearly 90% of the cards that we did as ex-fighters were the same. So you tell me you've got 3 men that's around the ringside, and I don't know what their fighting history is. But what I'm saying is, are you telling me they know more about boxing and who's been hit and not been hit more than guys that have reached world championship level? Yes, they've had the training to refine them, to bring the best out of them, which I'm sure you can do with ex-fighters. But I believe, yeah, you should get people that have been there, done that, and then refine them, show them a bit of training. But don't tell me my eyes are lying. I've done this. I've been a champion at this. And other guys will say that the same. So yeah, I think that's a great idea, getting ex-fighters to do it.
Johnny, pleasure speaking to you as always. Thank you so much for speaking to Boxing Social. Much appreciated.